$86. That is what remains after your first real paycheck. You check the balance at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, sitting on a mattress on the floor of an apartment you share with two strangers. The room smells like cheap pizza and dust from an old window air conditioning unit. You are 18 years old. You have no debt, no savings, no credit score. You have no idea what a Roth IRA is. But you possess something that nobody at 30 or 40 can buy back at any price. You have time, and time is the only asset that multiplies everything else. 3 people, same city, same income bracket, same decision. Start building. 1 starts at 18, 1 at 30, 1 at 40. The math that separates them over the next 4 decades will be the most expensive lesson 2 of them never learned early enough. This is not about intelligence. This is not about willpower. This is about when the clock started ticking. You work full-time at a warehouse for $2,400 a month before taxes. The air constantly smells of cardboard, and the low, persistent hum of fluorescent lights rings in your ears. Your rent is $620, a room with a door that doesn't lock properly. You eat rice and eggs 4 nights a week, not because you read a blog about frugality, because the math doesn't leave room for anything else. A coworker named Elias mentioned something about an index fund during a smoke break on a Tuesday. You Google it that night at 1 a.m. You don't understand most of the terminology, and the blue light of the screen stings your exhausted eyes. You open an account anyway. You deposit $75 a month. It feels like dropping coins into a deep well. It is not. It is the first $75 that will ever work for you while you sleep. By 20, you have $1,900 invested. The market dips in October. Your balance drops to $1,540. Your finger hovers over the sell button. You close the laptop instead. That quiet restraint, the decision you barely remember making on a Wednesday morning before your shift, will be worth more than a decade of hard labor in your 30s. You land a better job at 21, $3,100 a month. You increase the contribution to $200. You automate the process. By 25, your accounts hold $14,000. You skip a friend's destination wedding in Mexico because you refuse to liquidate the principal. They call you cheap. You feel a brief sting of exclusion. But you look at the $14,000, and the sting fades. You are purchasing your future. They are purchasing photos. The machine is running now, and it does not stop. You are 30. You've been working for 8 years. You make $62,000. You should have substantial equity by now. You don't. You have $4,100 in a checking account, $7,200 in credit card debt at 22.99% APR, and a car payment of $440 a month. The apartment is dead silent, save for the cheap ticking of a wall clock that seems louder than it should be. You intended to start investing when you were 24. You didn't. Not because you are lazy. Because immediate life always demanded capital first. The apartment security deposit, the groomsmen expenses, the year you changed jobs, forgot to roll over the 401k, and cashed it out instead. $6,400, minus the 10% penalty, minus the taxes. You spent it in 7 weeks. You cannot trace where a single dollar went. That is the nature of money without a framework. It vanishes and leaves no evidence. You are starting now. You declare this on a Sunday night at 11:20 p.m. You open a Roth IRA. You contribute $300 a month. You automate the transfer the day after payday, so the capital leaves before you can feel its absence. You attack the credit card debt for 14 brutal months. By 32, the debt is eradicated. Your Roth IRA holds $7,800. You take a screenshot of the zero balance on the credit card. You send it to no one. You log into LinkedIn and see peers your age closing on houses. Envy is a tax on your attention. You try not to pay it. You feel like you are pulling ahead. You are not pulling ahead. You are 12 years behind. Your property tax assessment just arrived in the mail, up $1,200 this year. You feel a tight knot form in your stomach as you recalculate the monthly budget. You have a household income of $94,000, a mortgage with $218,000 remaining, 2 kids, a 401k with $23,000 in it that you started at 36 and contributed the employer match minimum to because it felt responsible enough at the time. You look at that $23,000 balance. It wouldn't cover 6 months of your current expenses if you lost your job tomorrow. You can hear your kids laughing in the next room while you drink bitter, cold coffee, staring at a spreadsheet on your laptop. You are not broke. You are structurally delayed in a way that is invisible to everyone around you because you have a 4-bedroom house and an SUV that's only 2 years old. Your financial advisor, a guy named David, tells you to max out the 401k. You calculate the reality, $23,000 a year. Your take-home pay would drop by $1,917 a month. You simply can't do it. Not with the mortgage structure. Not with the braces your daughter needs in September. You contribute 8% instead. You open a brokerage account on a Saturday morning while the kids watch cartoons. You deposit $500. You schedule a $400 monthly transfer. You tell your wife you are finally getting serious about this. She nods. She has heard variations of this sentence before. You are doing everything correctly 22 years too late. You started at 18. You're 35 now, 17 years into the process. You still drive the sedan you bought at 24 for $8,400 cash. Total invested out of pocket, roughly $74,000. You check the brokerage on a Monday morning before work. Portfolio value, $196,000. You stare at the screen. You put in $74,000. The account holds $196,000. That means $122,000 materialized without you trading a single hour of physical labor for it. It was generated by compound gravity alone. You open the window of your own home, and the air smells like fresh rain. Time did its job. You started at 30. You are 35 now. 5 years into the process, disciplined, consistent, total invested, $41,000, portfolio value, $52,000. You feel like you are catching up to your peers. You're not catching up. The gap between you and the version of yourself that started at 18 is $144,000. You are the exact same age. You live in the same economy. You hold the same index fund. One of you simply showed up 12 years earlier. That is the entire explanation. You feel a tight, persistent tension in your neck from constant overtime. You are the one who starts at 40, which means right now you're 35. You haven't started yet. You won't for another 5 years. You are standing in a kitchen right now making coffee, stressed about a preschool tuition bill. You have no idea that the clock is running out. You have no idea that every morning you delay costs you more than the actual dollars you will eventually invest. The first rule: compound interest does not reward the disciplined. It rewards the early. Discipline without time is an engine running in a locked garage. It burns fuel. It makes a lot of noise. It goes absolutely nowhere. The exact same discipline, initiated a decade sooner, builds a fortress you never have to leave. You started at 18. You are 45. 27 years in the system. Your portfolio holds $640,000. You didn't execute any complex trades, no crypto, no options, no speculative tech stocks, same index fund, same automated transfer. Your portfolio generates approximately $44,000 a year in growth alone. That is a phantom second salary, one that doesn't require an alarm clock, a commute, or an annual review. You recline in a comfortable leather chair in your home office, listening to the distant, muffled sound of the wind. Last March, the market dropped 19% in 6 weeks. Your balance fell from $610,000 to $494,000. A department manager named Sarah panicked and liquidated everything in her 401k. You held your position. You bought more. This isn't bravery. It's a calculated reliance on market history. You saw this exact cycle when you were 20. The balance recovered in 4 months. Sarah locked in a permanent loss. You locked in a permanent discount. You started at 30. You are 45. 15 years in the system. Portfolio value, $198,000, solid, tangible. But here's the math that will keep you awake at 2 a.m. this year. The version of you that started at 18 holds $442,000 more. You both contributed roughly the same total amount out of pocket. The difference, the entire $442,000 variance, is time. And time cannot be deposited retroactively. You feel a sudden hollow weight in your chest at the realization. You started at 40. You are 45. 5 years in the system. You contribute more per month than either of the other two. Your portfolio holds $38,000. Then the HVAC unit fails. $4,200. You have to pause your investments for 5 months to cover the replacement. A dull, constant ache in your lower back reminds you of your physical limits. Every domestic emergency fractures your principal because your principal isn't large enough to absorb it with its own yield. The math is structural. You would need to invest for 31 more years to reach what the 18-year-old version commands right now. You will be 76. You close your laptop, exhausted. The second rule: you cannot outwork a late start. You can only outwork what the late start would have become if you never started at all. And that is worth everything. But it is not the same thing. You started at 18. You are 55. Your portfolio holds $1,540,000. You are not wealthy by the standards of a television show. You drive a reliable car with 94,000 miles on the odometer. But you possess a leverage no one can see from the outside. Your capital generates $107,000 a year in baseline growth. Your mother's assisted living care costs $3,400 a month. Your monthly dividends absorb the cost seamlessly. You don't argue about it. It is simply a scheduled transfer, not a familial crisis. You feel the warmth of the afternoon sun on your skin and the comforting smell of old paper in your study. You sleep deeply, not because you are rich, because you are certain. You started at 30. You are 55, 25 years in. Portfolio $580,000. You have performed well, better than 80% of Americans your age. But you will not retire early. You will retire when you reach a threshold that is technically sufficient. And sufficient is the word that quietly replaced the word you used to picture when you imagined this decade, which was freedom. You started at 40. You are 55, 15 years of continuous sacrifice, monthly contributions that sometimes meant telling your kids not this year when they asked about a summer trip to Disney. Portfolio, $172,000. Your eyes burn with a gritty exhaustion from a chronic lack of sleep and too many hours staring at monitors. You are entirely depleted. You will work until 67, maybe 70. Not because you failed at your job, because you activated the machinery with a shorter runway, and the machinery does not negotiate with runways. It never has. The third rule: the gap between starting at 18 and starting at 40 is not 22 years. It is a lifetime of compounding that the late starter will spend the rest of their career trying to close, and never fully will. The distance does not shrink. It accelerates. You started at 18. You're 65. You check the account on a Tuesday morning in April. Portfolio, $3,800,000. You are free, not theoretically, physically. You stand on the deck of a coastal rental, the crisp morning breeze carrying the sharp scent of salt water and pine. You hold a warm mug, watching the tide roll in. You choose exactly what to do with your mornings. There is no urgency in your chest. The machine you started at 18 with $75 a month became the architecture of your entire adult life. It built this morning. It built this silence. You started at 30. You are 65. Portfolio, $1,420,000. Comfortable, enough to retire carefully and maintain your standard of living. You are not unhappy. But as you sit in your suburban kitchen, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator, you know with a brutal precision exactly what 12 years of waiting cost you: $2,380,000. That is the distance, not between two investment strategies, between two calendars. You started at 40. You are 65. 25 years of investing, real capital, real effort, portfolio, $520,000. You will be fine. You will not be free. You will manage. You will budget carefully. A heavy winter coat presses down on your shoulders as you walk down a loud, slushy street toward a part-time consulting job you couldn't afford to turn down. Your knees ache against the cold concrete. You are enduring the math instead of owning it. And that is the sentence that defines your final chapter. The distance. At 65, the person who started at 18 has $3.8 million. The one who started at 30 has $1.4 million. The one who started at 40 has $520,000. Same median income, same market, same index fund, same discipline once the decision was made. The only variable was the date on the calendar when the first deposit cleared. One decision, one moment that felt entirely insignificant at the time. That is the compound gap. It grows in complete silence for decades, and then one morning you check the ledger and the distance between your life and someone else's is $3.2 million. And there is no bridge across it. There never was. And somewhere right now, in a city that doesn't matter, in a job that feels temporary, an 18-year-old is sitting on a break at 9:47 p.m., scrolling past an ad for a brokerage account. She almost taps the screen. She closes the tab instead. She tells herself she'll start when she makes more money. She doesn't know yet that more money was never the variable. She doesn't realize that the $75 she could deposit tonight, before she turns 19, holds more geometric power than $1,000 deposited at 35, and more than $2,000 deposited at 45. Not because of the dollar amount, because of the sheer time it gets to sit inside the mechanism and become something else entirely. The market has no memory. It holds no bias regarding your age. It doesn't pause for you to get your life in order. It only counts the days since you arrived, and every day you haven't is a day the mechanism was expanding for someone else. The direct deposit clears at $86. The climb always begins at the bottom. It cannot begin anywhere else.